Okay, thank you for you. First of all, I thank you for your time. It's difficult to speak with privacy in the context of the world. As we are working from home is different for most part of people. And I will take a little bit to take off your mind of the coronavirus, COVID-19, but you to think about privacy. And privacy, everybody wants to know more and wants to increase your studies and speak about this. And I'm Carla. I'm a security manager at Bancobi and companies, the group. I think it's six. And such as card processors, insurance, pension plans, consortiums, and investments. And I will talk about the context privacy in Bancobi as a bank, okay? And unfortunately, in Brazil, we are the main target of the cyber attacks in the world. And unfortunately, in terms of the leaking of credit card information, you are only behind the USA. And it's awful for Brazil. And the number is very interesting to talk about our brand of digital scams, cases of the people who are taking some privacy context and in the very different situation. Sometimes because we are bringing our device to work, sometimes because the people don't be carefully when we receive some emails or some messages about the thing. And the problem is not to leak, data leak, is the who are selling or buying this one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And in this scenario, the general law of the protection of personal data in Brazil is the way of telling the world that we are engaged against the crimes, and that why the law is very similar to the European law. But in Brazil, we don't have more details. In GDPR, they have more details than the LGPD in Brazil. And especially at Bancobi, we are attentive to all the specification to many global laws, because we can change some kind of information with the different countries. And the project in Bancobi has a very good it's very accepted by the people, the managers and the employees. The privacy project started in April the last year, and the mapping phase ended to October. In January, carry about interviews, training. I think is the part of the project more important. It's very difficult to put in the people that the responsibility to the privacy data is not only for me and my team, is for all the people. And I think it's a very good problem to ask in your companies too. It's difficult to this. And the project should focus on training people, disseminate knowledge, and prepare them to understand when they need to call the data privacy team. Employee trained in data privacy in the LGPD. I think in Bancobi is the number of employee is about 50 or 60% of all of employee has to change, has a opportunity to talk about, and I don't think is the specific word to say, to be able to know and aplicar no dia a dia. Fugiu a palavra.
To apply.
To apply in the day, in the working day. Yes. Sorry. And I think it's the number. I don't know if it's good for you read. We make some 50 weeks to only to detail the line of the information in process in bank, to understand and mapping this one, who I know, why I need to know the number of a mother of some kind of people in bank. It's not applicable. It's not having a specific objective for this data. And the people we are living in the world who everything it's mapping. We don't know why we are applying this one, but we are connecting, collecting, and they data sometimes it's very exposure to the risks. And the scope of the data mapping business is only the cybersecurity diagnostics. We know where is it? I think it's a photography. Where I stay here as is. What is occurring in the bank? What I know to this real situation about the data information in bank. We make an inventory of data protection, data mapping, data discovery. Then we identify the risks and threats and make an action plan. Now we are doing some part of action plan. We stay all of the last months talking about privacy data, data privacy, and we are, if the coronavirus don't go out our life, it's so difficult to continue with the plan. But in next 5 months, we need to finish this one. I will talk about this in other slides to explain you. And this is like an example of we are doing in process. It's very detailed, the process, and we know which process has a name, address, phone numbers, card numbers, transactions, and in all of the process in the bank. I think it's okay because when they finished the mapping, it's older because the process is living all the time, is going to change. But we are some numbers, and it's not to be afraid about it because the law doesn't exist in this period. We make the process mapping, and everything is not compliance with the law because the law be new one at the process. Some board, like some people of the board like this, oh, we are awful of this. Too much, too many risks to identify, but it's not problem about, because it's not only, it's not the situation only in Brazil, only in Bancob, is all the people who are new in the data privacy law. For example, in South America, there is some countries that we are increasing his law and writing his law at this moment, and everything is not compliance, okay? Because it doesn't exist until now.
Please, Carla, one question.
Why?
Which type of risk you identify?
Okay, there is many of the risk. For example, we have data who not have a specific appliance to the process, for example. For example, I know your address, but I don't use your address to some, for example, to make you a new marketing advertisement, for example. Or you has duplicated data with the same persons with different systems, different file servers, and to know, and the people don't know about this. For example, I will treat some data, and I put the copy in my desktop and make some questions. And why I will do with when the process will finish. Okay, it's me. I can explain you.
Yes, I understand. Yes,
I
yes.
understand, but if you want, I will share you if it's okay for you, or if you want, the list of the risks that we have identified in the not of the process, of course, but the kind of risk that we have to.
The categories of the risk.
The higher risk. The higher.
Yes, the higher risk. Okay,
higher.
it's not. Yeah, oh, it's not problem for us. The higher risk is for example, the data with they don't have basement law to use. Because when you have, for example, a name and a regional identification, for example, in Brazil has a CPF, that there is a number who identify the people, and there is law in Brazil that for you open a account with me, a bank account, you need to use this one, and this is a legal basement. For the other information, not. We can't. We can specific. We can has an specific law based in legal base to you maintain this data with the bank. Okay.
Sometimes it's legitimate, sometimes it's legal.
Is exactly this. Yes. Legitimate or not. Or if you don't have consentment
it depends of the law. It depends on the law.
Yeah.
National law or GDPR.
Yeah, for example, or some kind of the law of the bank, the regulations of the bank, the regulation for you to make a transaction with the client.
It's the authority who.
Authority.
National
exactly
authority.
This. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And this is the planned work schedule, but the pandemic and the current situation of the world is the beginning to be changed, of course. But it's not to working with the planning. Of course, it's for example, we have a legal actions nowadays to identify exactly the point of this, and we need to finish at the end of the March, and and we will not finish this. Definitely we don't. And in the next slides, I will explain you detailed what is the actions to be the legal of the LGBT compliance and the other phases of this. And there is a possibility that in the other hands, there is a possibility to Brazil doesn't have a formally established regulatory agents, which could lead the postponement. I think is the law is not be working or is not be good to be, I don't know the name is to be, a lei não vai estar vigente. I forgot the word I think it's the law is not be working in next month, because we are living the different situation about the pandemic
It's
situation.
valid, Carla. The
Valid,
law is
valid.
valid.
E ela já
Yeah,
está aí?
thank you. And until now is that it's in next to August, I think it's 5 months, maybe. It's only the still speculation. There is some kind of some agents are need to be asking about the postpone the law. I don't know if it's okay or not, but I think it's a possibility in in Brazil case. And sorry, and this one is has what I explain you is that, for example, in the phases, not it's again in Brazil in Portuguese, but it's a action plan one, and legal action for LGPD compliance is review the contract. I will explain this one. Is the review contract of proposal of insurance, review contracts of the prospective for third part of the process and the other hands. And the action plan 2 is defined the implementation, access review, and protect data in the systems, because it's important for us to know that some appointed that processing officers is define the rules and responsibilities of the data processing officer. In Brazil is a DPO, okay? It's like a responsibility, the manager or the data privacy in the office. And define competencies of the DPO, develop and implementing privacy and data privacy governance instructor. This one is like some people who are talking about law in bank and explain what are you doing to make the law compliance, the bank complies with the law, of course. And the organizational structure is not defined for all of the aspects, but I think it's they are increasing day after day, and I think it's okay in the next 2 months, I think.
Please, just a question. Which
Okay.
skills, DPU must have to be responsible? He must be
Able
able to remember the law, or can have other skills?
Yeah, they need to have some specific skills and infrastructure, technology, information. We have to know the IT. It's must have. It's not is optional. They need to know the law, of course, because we are talking about law every time, but it's not specific a lawyer. It's not an obligation. You know, you have to know the law, but it's not must have. And you need to have skills to able with the people and the process in all of the company to talk about data privacy, because and some kinds in Brazil you have to, you can contract some companies to have the DPO is not inside the company, but it's not illegal, is not in the IT infrastructure, they are speculating that yes, is the sorry,
matching different skills.
Different skills, of course, but you have the you can do something skills. You can stay able to speak about some skill with your team. Okay, you can have a team and people who enforce you, who, I don't know, help you of these skills and abilities. Not if, of course, there is not a Superman who know everything of the
Okay.
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 But
Okay.
I think it's the people who can talk with technology and a specific kind of law and make it be together, because it's the most difficult things to do is the how systems and how the I forgot the name, the old system, the legado. How do you say legado in English? I don't know.
Legacy
The
system.
legacy, of course, the
Legacy.
legacy system is very difficult to be adapted in the law, because it need to be encryptation, has to be consentment of the people who are taking some relation with the company. Okay.
Okay.
Carla, just to add the colleague question, here in Bangkok, who will be the chief responsible for this? For example,
It's a
the
good.
chief risk officer could be the person who could deal with this subject.
Yeah.
Just for example, as consider the skills of we have today with our chief risk officer.
Yeah, Rodrigo, it's a very good question, because in the bank is not defined yet. We are talking about, they think it's maybe could be Rubens, like a director, is a C-level. Okay, I'm a manager, there is a C-level, hire me, and could be there. But I think the DPO is more technical. I don't think it's, for example, a manager, or like I speak this with, for example, Andres. It's like maybe, how do you say superintendent in English? I don't know the name. It's the middle of director and the manager. It's the people who they stay in the staff
The
who
head, you can
the
consider
head,
head.
yeah, the head of the risk. But
Mhm.
in the area of the risk, it could be a good area because it's independent. It's not stay at in technology structure and not being the law, because the law is very difficult, because the people, it's difficult to know the IT skills. Okay, I don't know if it's clear or if it could be more explored. But I had a Gartner. Do you know Gartner company? Has a very good skills of research in the world. Is a very good company, I think, to be advertising, asking about who the world is working with this. And when we ask and talking about this, it's the consensus that we have the specific area to take care about this. Maybe could be in cybersecurity area, for example, you have a skills to make a protecting data officer, like a group of the people who are talking about only the data privacy. I think it's a very good option to the banks. Okay. Okay. In the next few slides, I will explain you exactly the some action plan and be in the phase. For example, definition and implementation of the access review process to protect data in the system. We are talking about this before. Check Bangkok level compliance with the general data law, create a local data privacy support and disclosure about privacy, data retention, storage. Storage is the other hand who has a very big problem, because the people just say, be storage, don't put your hands there. Storage, 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 and some people never goes to the storage dates and analyze and say it's not safe to be here, or it's not necessary. The people don't throw away, don't delete some data, and this is the problem, because you have we have to protect the data, the conception until the discard, discards the data, of course. Okay, and all of the cycle life of the data, we need to protect them. Okay. The review and the implementation policies process to protect personal data is only the phases who never we has how do you say, desculpas, excuses to not working with a pandemic situation, not specific where DPO will be. You could, until now, since now, be analyzing your policies and make some kind of agents and be editing the policies to make it compliance with the law, okay? Because you write the paper, don't be nervous, don't be speaking everything, and it's working and you are increasing your process, okay? In the other phases is we review the implementations policy and then process protect personal data. Então, this is an action plan who all of, I know in Brazil, that I'm observing in Brazil that people and the company and the process are updating the cookie policy, privacy policy, and create anonymity procedures to make this is compliance with the law. And this is, you could be, for example, stay at the site of the company and observing and make some kind of ages different people are talking about, and you are making the reviewing the process that like this. I don't think it's could be stay stopped with the pandemic or the other thing. I think it could be working good in all of the time, okay? And in the other hand, you need to design a process to meet the requests of the owners, in the people, who clients who need to ask you. For example, with the client of bank, I know which people or which kind of data you are collecting and storage about my person. And it's very difficult to mapping this, to discover this in the process of the company, because the process is very complex. It's very difficult to explain this to the C-levels and to the employees too, to make this is to be, you have to be accurate to identify the problems in the process and raise hand to say, I have a problem in my process because I don't have any law that it's to be compliance with that I'm storing this information. Okay. And one thing it's important, we know that when you design process by privacy, in the first of the end of the projects, in the product and the other things, is I think it's the more way to take and to be compliance with the law. If you could stop the process and the new process, the new products, the new services, we need to know, to increase and to live and to be started with the privacy, in the privacy requirements, I think, okay? It's in this one is a very important planned action to think about is access consentment management to opt in and opt out, because this is one that people are to being crazy about the persons who has a relationship with the bank. Because I know I wake up today and I say, okay, you are not authorized to be with my data. I want to be esquecido, forgettable. It's a law. Saying, how to say, the law protect you about this. And it's difficult to do this because we have some data that the people don't want to be stored, but the law says to be. You need to this information till all the time, as 100 years. I don't know the time of the some informations in the countries, because it's different to the country of the other. Okay. And I think it's very difficult to know about this plan if you are don't in talking about privacy, because it's a defined process to receiving, registry, and field system evaluate, confirmation by the holder, escalating and responding the questions. Who people say, I don't want to know what are you doing with my information. You need to have a process that they started here and stay with the time to be the answers about this. In Brazil, you are talking about 15 days. I don't know if it's okay, it's sufficient or not, but it's the time if the people are talking about. 50 days to you say all of the system and all of the storage which you are talking about the person is very, very, very difficult. Because some system is okay, it's the privacy, it's okay, you ask and they say that they put the the I don't know, the name is I don't know the kind of a register information. But in the other hand, you put this, go to the marketplace, go to the law, go to the very, very different areas to take this data and make something that is not compliance with the law. In the end of the risk assessment is the definition is to define and implement a process to kind of the risk assessments all day, all the products, new products, you need to risk and put the attention of the new risks that you are asking about, okay? And it's to people have to be trained to identify and say the area, the data privacy area, to take care about this one, okay? And in the action plan 7, definition of the incident process is very important, because the incident process will take some specific information about the decision of I will make this information public or not. In some kind of process, this is very difficult. For example, engagement with the client, with the bank, is only to be the safety people. You don't know the many process in the bank with the clients is be confiável. Fugiu the word. Confiável é confiability. The processes could
reliable.
Be reliable. Yeah. And if you don't have some process to take care about this, you could explore or explain or showing things to people who are not good. And your image and reputation is to go down, and it's very difficult to make relationship with this. Então, this process is very kindly important to know the company that sometimes we are going to be on like recall of the information that it could be a problem with the banks, okay? Now, this action plan is a definition and implementing a personal data protection process in the service providers. We need to examine types of risk to they explore, complete the development of third part of risk. The companies sometimes don't be able to talk about privacy data in contracts, and review and monitoring this one with this explain. The company need to develop a risk assessment to increase access privacy, contracting process, and centralize the cybersecurity structure. Because you don't have to do with some kind like not be working the same, because if people ask about some information or privacy, data privacy, the other has a same answer by the same questions, of course. And this is, to explain and structure the process has could be and phases, a process, responsibilities, and even to explore how we are talking about this, okay? And criteria of assessment security risk of the part of the company. In Bancob, we make a list of the compliance with the law, and the contract has to be with this specific points in the contract to guarantee of us that we are talking or we are engaged to be and to offer the data privacy for the client, okay? And in these phases, in the end, we are talking about the governance of the data project, and we are build an information management model, meaning to structure the matrix control over all environment, process, and personal data assessment. You need to complete the development third-party risk registry with a scoring, technical assessment, agreed, and other things. We are monitoring and reviewing the report of third party to regulatory to be triggered, managers, and the actions occurs, device or manager, all of the information of the organization could be repeatable, doing with the same services, okay? To implement the personal data protection services is a continued plan, that risk assessment. I think it's very, very detailed in this part, because it's so difficult to be how this one is working with the Bancob. And to be this one, the last one, for last, not one, but for last plan actions is to define the implementation of the corporate data security and protected training program. I know this before. I spoke this one. that define personal data protection training plan for the bank and the employees. It's very important to the process, to the data privacy, because the people are the problem in the process of the privacy, because people are not thinking about privacy. If there is an obligation, it's not, it's must have the daily think about the manager in all of the company to make it works. And monitoring the data privacy and data loss prevention, we are implementing this of the Office, Microsoft Office systems. We are using the Microsoft to do this one with the emails, messages, instant messages, and calling to the Microsoft team. We are encouraging the people using this to make their home office. It's a way you are talking about now in Bancob. And finally, we review the access to system network directors and store personal data, because sometimes it's very difficult to make people work in this. Well, this is the I think it's the finish, and it's a plan to share. That's all I plan to share you. I hope I help you, and I'm available to answer something that was not being made clear. My awful English
No, don't worry,
left any
Carla.
doubts.
That was
Any doubts
perfect.
about?
That was perfect.
Oh no, Javi, you are a gentleman.
No, thanks a lot for this detailed presentation, and yeah, I'm sure it was interesting, definitely for Asma, who is assume working in that field, and Federico from Argentina. So I think it was really good. I don't know if there is any questions. I don't know, from Asma, or maybe from Federico that's still connected here. Federico, if for any reason you want to make the question also written, there is like a chat that you can
Yeah.
write your question there. It can be in English or it can be in Spanish. It doesn't matter. And we can pass it to Carla. And
Yeah. I think it's my question, the most important risk of the process. I could share with you if you want.
All right, thank you. Can I have your email?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can share that with.
Okay.
I can
Could
send
you
it
share?
to you, Asma. Yeah, I'll share that after
Okay,
the call,
thank
so
you.
don't worry.
Thank you.
I'll write it
Okay.
down.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question, Carla, and it was just like curiosity of how much this situation with the virus has impacted the management of data, because it raises, in my understanding, some questions on how to, for example, process employees' data. For
Yeah,
instance,
it's very difficult.
I was wondering how far an organization can go into asking employees about, for example, their health status, or where they have traveled to, or the health of their families and friends. So the collection of this data, it's obviously with the best intention, in preventing to spread the virus, but it can also conflict with the regulation on data protection. So I was wondering, if there is some specific measures that Bancob is putting in place to process employees' personal information during this crisis, or it's not a question there. I don't know. It just.
Yeah, I think in what the organizations are talking about is Febraban in Brazil is like an association who stay the banks together and talking about all the banks and interested of the banks. It's like when you stay with the contract with you have a relation with the person, okay?
Right.
When you have a relation of the people, for example, employees and company, you has to explain them. For example, Carla, I have this information about you and I need in the process to contract you or to maintain you in the company, I need to ask you something. You agree with me or not? It's the problem with the people who say not, I'm not
Yeah,
agree.
because it's based
Because
on consent, right?
yeah, it's maybe the consent, but some people are talking about that if you don't have the consentment, you don't you don't stay to break the services. You have the services and you don't have consentment to make a specific thing. For example, Carla, you are my employee. I need know something about you, but if you don't show me something, unfortunately, I will not throw you, for example, offer you the specific discount in this product or in the other one. But it's with employee is difficult because if you are contracting these people, you in theory the people agree with the rules of the company.
Right, right.
Okay, and they say, but if the problem in the privacy data with the employees and the first phase of the interview asking people are interested in working with the company, but it's not choice the company. For example, when you apply for the company, but you are not escolhido,
Chosen.
chosen the people. And what you do with the curriculums about these people? You need to destroy it.
Yeah.
You couldn't be with you because they don't make the relation, okay?
Right.
But it's in doubt because the law is not working. The
Yeah.
agents in Brazil, like ANPD, ANPD, is not working. The people who are working with the agents is not to be nomed. And I think in the next month, because the pandemic, it's not. And maybe this is the question that all
Yeah.
of Brazilians are asking
Yeah, because
about the law.
with the pandemic, I don't know how it's in Brazil, but in many countries there are many people infected, and I was wondering if the organization can disclose the names of the employees that are infected, just to prevent other people from getting infected, but it's like, it's a tricky case, because
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so
It's
I guess,
difficult. It's
yeah,
difficult.
it's difficult.
Many contracts must be or have be to edit, to added aditivos contratuais, edit,
uh
Has been
to
added.
added, has been added to make this clear for the employees and the company.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one question. In Brazil, you can send data for to not adequate country.
Yeah.
Yeah, not adequate country. You can send data.
No, you can, but you couldn't. You você pode, mas não deve. You could, but don't have.
For
No,
business, because it's business.
no.
I
In Brazil,
wondering about this question. Or
yeah,
you must justify your authority why you want to send to share data with some provider in no adequate country.
Yeah, yes. If you, because you know, you can do everything the law and the regulation of in Brazil with the data, but it's must have specified, it's clear to all of the part of the context, because it's different. Okay.
Justify.
Justify.
Okay.
Okay, excellent, Carla. I think we should leave it like this. I would like to thank you very much for
Thank you.
this explanation. I think it was very useful and very clear. And I suggest we leave it here. I'll send you, Asma, the contact detail of the email of Carla.
Okay.
Because I have her explicit consent. So
Okay.
let's leave it here. Thanks a lot to all of you for connecting, and I hope to see you next time. Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.
Okay,
Thank
bye
you. Bye,
bye.
guys.
Enjoy your
Bye-bye.
quarantine.
See you.